So, obviously, the biggest news in the past few days has been the reveal and subsequent groundbreaking success of Yooka-Laylee's Kickstarter campaign. If you don't know, Yooka-Laylee is the title of the spiritual successor to the beloved Banjo-Kazooie titles on the Nintendo 64, and it's being developed by many of the talents that made the Banjo games the masterpieces they were. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
Where to begin? Well, before I really analyze Yooka-Laylee, let's discuss a bit about its development. I believe it was around September of 2012 when a group of former Rare employees announced the creation of a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. And however, the project was left dead until 2014 when Playtonic Games was first founded. It was later on in this year, in 2015, that the game known as Yooka-Laylee was first revealed to the public. The engine, as far as I remember, is using the Unity engine. But what I found particularly satisfying about Yooka-Laylee is that it's a brand new IP. These days, most if not all games are just sequels or continuations of already established franchises. So it is refreshing to see that we have something fresh to come into the market.
So yeah, I'm really excited for Yooka-Laylee because I have been a huge fan of Banjo-Kazooie back in the day, and it really saddens me how much Rare fucked up Banjo-Kazooie with nuts and bolts. And you know, it's just one of those times once again with the whole deal with Keiji Ifune defecting from Capcom, creating concept and making Mighty No. 9 as the Mega Man spiritual successor. It's the same thing like that. And I'm glad that these Kickstarters are getting that kind of support from fans because it shows that the fans really want this game. And you know, the developers, Capcom and Microsoft and Rare, they're like, oh, they don't want Banjo-Kazooie back in a platforming genre. They don't want Mega Man back. No one wants Mega Man back. And this just proves that they're wrong and they're full of shit. And I just cannot wait for Yooka-Laylee. I already backed this project. I'm getting my digital copy. Yooka-Laylee looks so good. I'm just so ready, dude.
I've got it on screen at the moment, and it's currently sitting at £1.4 million sterling. I'm not sure exactly how much that is in dollars, but either way, that's a monumental...
That really quick.
That's an incredible amount of money, whatever currency that's in. So there is definitely a huge amount of support for this sort of game, and from what I've seen of Yooka-Laylee, it is what we wanted when we saw the little reveal thing they did, or sort of teaser for Banjo 3 when they did, well, I'm not sure whether it was actually for Banjo 3, but I'm 100% sure there was a little clip of announcing that a new Banjo game was in the works that started out sort of like a pencil sketch and then opened up into Spiral Mountain. And then, of course, the Banjo IP got degraded to what we saw in Nuts and Bolts, which, you know, you can think what you want about Nuts and Bolts, but in my opinion, it really wasn't a Banjo game. It wasn't in line with any of the others, or at least any of the other Nintendo 64 games. But this one does seem to be. Yooka-Laylee is fantastic, and it's done in Unity, like Andy said, and the results after 3 months, I think, of development are pretty incredible, to be honest. The world's looking great. It's got this whole sort of cubic style to everything. All the rocks are a little bit square, which I suppose adds a little bit of style and character to the world. I just think everything that I've seen of this game, to be honest, looks fantastic.
Right, and also just to give a brief note, Yooka-Laylee actually made Kickstarter history. The campaign reached about, they broke $1 million quicker than any other project in Kickstarter. And another thing, speaking about the gameplay here, you could also collect these little sound notes or music notes. They're kind of the icons, which I'm guessing they're kind of replacing the honeycombs you would see in Banjo-Kazooie. And so that kind of makes me wonder, how are these sound notes going to be incorporated into the gameplay? Laylee, which is the female bat figure, is also said to use some sort of sonic emitter or some things that bats typically do in the wild. So I'm wondering, how does music play into this, and does Yooka-Laylee actually play a ukulele? And I'm just wondering how that's supposed to form out in the gameplay.
I'm going to continue that in a second, but I'd just like to give you guys the currency conversion. So 1,408,383 British pounds converts over to $2,132,430.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That is a lot of money. Oh my god. So yeah, that's the money. But the gameplay, from what they said with Yooka-Laylee, they said they're going to handle very similar to Banjo-Kazooie, but they're going to have their own type of movements and whatever. Of course, Laylee the bat's going to help Yuka like float over and do like mid jumps, double jumps or whatever. And a new feature that they said that Yuka's gonna be able to do, being a chameleon, he's gonna be able to use his tongue to stick to certain surfaces and to get to certain places that are like far away. We haven't seen any gameplay of that, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna work very similar to maybe like a hook shot from The Legend of Zelda. Maybe he can go so far, because that sounds kind of broken if you want to say like, oh, hook shot anywhere you want. Or maybe he can only stick to certain surfaces where it looks like a little wet area. It's like, oh yeah, those places you can stick to or whatever. We've seen things like that before in platformers. And Laylee is gonna be able to do, like you guys said, like sonic screams or sonic blasts to disrupt enemies being a bat or whatever. But other than that, what we've seen in the gameplay is Yuka turning into a ball and rolling around anywhere. I'm guessing that's gonna be their kind of talent trot, their way to get around the map quicker. But it seemed to be able to hit enemies, which looks kind of broken. But this game is still in very, very early development, so we're gonna have to see what else they'll add to the repertoire of Yooka-Laylee's moves.
Yeah, but also the Kickstarter campaign actually quintuples all of its initial stretch goals by just day one. In fact, their Twitter profile even stated it was actually getting more and more difficult to make more and more stretch goals. It was getting ridiculous, actually. Mm-hmm. And one thing I'm actually really looking forward to about Yooka-Laylee is the music. Yes. I believe Grant Thrope, I forgot what his... Kurthope, yeah, that's his name.
No, Kirkhope.
Kurthope. He actually... Kurthope, yes, HMK, thanks. I'm not even good at pronouncing these names, but he pretty much composed former games like Banjo-Kazooie, and I believe he did some Viva Pinata ones as well. And pretty much I actually listened to a couple of the tracks before we did this, and it just sounds so reminiscent of Banjo-Kazooie, and it kind of reminds me of a very good Saturday morning cartoon, which kind of reminded me of Banjo-Kazooie, since that's how I kind of imagine Banjo-Kazooie is, like a very good Saturday morning cartoon that really stretches you back towards your childhood days.
Yeah, I can't decide which one I like more, to be honest, because currently we've got Jungle Challenge and Jungle World. By David Wise and Grant Kirkhope, respectively. And they're both completely different styles. I believe David Wise did Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze soundtrack. And Challenge is sort of more chilled and obviously uses different instruments. I'm not musically knowledgeable, so I don't really know. But hearing Jungle World, it's just banjo through and through. It's got a lot of Treasure Trove Cove in it and a lot of other inspirations from different banjo tracks, and it looks like sort of the best of a lot of banjo tunes put into one Yooka-Laylee theme. And I hope this sort of thing continues throughout the entire game, and that the soundtrack's as good as what we've heard so far.
And it can only get better, because right now the stretch goal that they're working on right now is £1,500,000, and if we hit that, then the whole game is going to be orchestrated. So it can only get better, because I'm pretty sure, I'm assuming they're using like MIDI tracks and they're using pre-recorded digital tracks to compose the music, which still sounds great, but orchestrated music is gonna have that extra crisp and punch to it. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna reach that goal before anything else, because we're already like only £100,000 away from that.
Yeah, probably. Was Nuts and Bolts orchestrated? Because say what you want about the game, but it did have a very, very good soundtrack.
It did, because Grant Kirkhope was still on board of that, but I could not tell you if it was orchestrated or not, and honestly, I don't really care. That game.
I would take a more historic retrospective here, since Yooka-Laylee is more like, let's say, a reboot of the classic 3D platformers from the early 64-bit era, where Rareware, and especially the team developing Yooka-Laylee now, was the masters and the workaholics that set the industry standard. So I'm just waiting to see the continuation. I hope that Kickstarter will give them the boost they need to develop the best game they possibly can create, and let's hope that the market will embrace this game, and not only on the Wii U, since we all know that this game will sell on the Wii U, but also on other systems such as PC, PS4 or Xbox One.
There was a interview between some YouTube channel, I can't remember, and a few of the guys from Playtonic Games, and they do express very, big aspirations for what they want to do in the future, and they do make it very clear that they want to be banging out quality games like Rare were in the late 90s and early 2000s. They want to be doing that again in 2015 and 2016 and beyond, obviously.
My dream in that case would be a spiritual successor to Conquer, since we need a platform.
Conker's Bradford, that was just a cult classic. I really enjoyed that game back then.
But it was hard as hell.
I just remember seeing these sunflowers and what they added to them.
We all know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Conquerors was great. But if they're gonna, I feel kind of like bittersweet if they're gonna if this is gonna become a trend where they're gonna revive all their old IPs that they don't have the rights to, and then bring them out in a new way. But we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the actual designs of the characters, Yooka and Laylee, initially? Because initially I thought they were a little bit odd, partially because they aren't wearing clothes, and Banjo at least had shorts and a backpack. I don't know why I found them weird, to be honest, but perhaps that's just because I've grown up with Banjo and Kazooie, who are, a weird concept. It's a bear with a bird in his backpack. So I think Yooka-Laylee will grow on me. Right now, looking at them on my screen, they are objectively a very well-designed character, and they've said they are designed specifically around the abilities that these creatures would bring to the game. So what were your guys' first impressions of the designs of Yooka and Laylee?
Well, speaking about the colors of the characters, initially I was a bit puzzled, I will admit, since we see the big contrast between the green and the purple, being green is Yooka and purple with Laylee. But over time, as you said, I grew to actually really enjoy the design. Shortly after the announcement of the character design, you see a bunch of fans just pretty much just send Playtonic a bunch of fan-created arts of Yooka-Laylee. And pretty much, and through that, I really grew with the design, actually. They looked pretty friendly towards each other, and it just gave me that sense of nostalgia, as I said before, with being reminiscent towards really good Saturday morning cartoons. The whole thing just kind of strikes me as a nostalgic twist that kind of harkens me back towards I was a child, especially during the Banjo-Kazooie days, which I think kind of really hits you in that child factor thing.
I really like the designs when it comes to Yooka-Laylee. The one of the biggest things I love is the contrast between the green and the purple. It's gonna add, that pop in between their two, color palettes. The one thing that kind of bothers me is the designs. They're great. The thing that bothers me is that I think Laylee is a bit small. Because I don't know if they're going to incorporate that kind of mode where they're going to separate Yooka and Laylee at certain points in the game like they did with Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. And Laylee is really, really small. I just feel that they need to make her a bit bigger overall in order to carry Yooka, or to even go out on her own sometimes. I don't know, but it's like a pet peeve, not really a big problem, but I do believe that she should be a little bit bigger.
Oh, well, like I was saying, I do like the way that these characters are based around the abilities, like you were saying about, is Laylee the bat?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about Laylee's bat echolocation sort of thing, and I'm wondering whether this will be used like bats use it for, enhanced senses. We've seen screenshots of cave gameplay, so perhaps it will help in the dark or something. I've no idea, it's all speculation. And then another thing is Playtonic Games have actually tweeted about the possibility, although it is very, very unlikely considering this is a multi-platform game, of a Yooka-Laylee Amiibo. I personally think this would be cool, but I don't really see it happening because Yooka-Laylee is about as multi-platform as you can get. It's not a Nintendo game by any means. It's just happening to be on the Wii U, and there was obviously the history between the guys who are making this game and Nintendo. But either way, I think that if it were to be a Yooka-Laylee Amiibo, would be a cool thing.
Well, personally, I believe if, let's say, Yooka-Laylee did have an Amiibo, that would give more incentive to people to get the Wii U version of it. if that's the case. And there's also some talk that people want Yooka-Laylee to be in the new Smash Brothers game, which may or may not happen. I'm not really sure how that would turn out. But if those two things actually did happen, if there was a Yooka-Laylee amiibo, that would give more incentive for consumers to get the Wii U version as opposed towards any other version. Like, let's say, for example, if you get the Yooka-Laylee amiibo, it unlocks something for the particular game, or you get some form of new content that would give more incentive for consumers to get the Wii U version opposed towards other versions.
Personally, I'm against locking out content from based on systems, since I think that gaming in general, and especially the Rareware experience, was all about paying for one complete package. You were playing from one end to the other, and you were not missing out on anything. So what we basically do with Amiibos is taking out some of the content that could have initially have been within the game, and say that, okay, if you pay for this figurine $10-12, then you will get 30 or 1 hour of additional gameplay. And I think that's just unfair, especially since this is a Kickstarter funded project. I think that these types of projects should not have DLCs, which are definitely not day one. If you say that they are developed after the game's release, that's another case. But if they are announced or even developed prior to the game's release, then I think that is just another symptom of what is wrong with gaming today.
Okay, you make a fair point, and it is true that Amiibo often do unlock simply on-disc DLC, and they are something you have to buy to unlock something in the game. But perhaps if the thing they unlocked in Yooka-Laylee on Wii U was something sort of non-substantial, so it won't really be something that, if you don't buy the Amiibo or you have the game on a different system, it won't be something that's really a detriment to your experience on the game. Perhaps like, I don't know, a different reskin or some different colors for the characters. I've no idea. So also in the news recently was the Zelda spin-off title Hyrule Warriors hitting 1 million sales worldwide. I know HMK touched on this in a recent video. Do you guys think that we could see more spin-offs like this, especially in the space left by Zelda Wii U's delay?
Well, what I find Hyrule Warriors selling 1 million copies worldwide to be particularly good for Nintendo. Typically, Nintendo has been nitpicky previously when it comes to spin-offs for Zelda games. For example, Link's Crossbow Training and the Tingle games weren't exactly anything to gloat about. Personally, I find the latest development to be a precedent for Nintendo. It gives clairvoyance to the company that spin-off Zelda games can sell. Subsequently, it is possible we can see more games like Hyrule Warriors in the future, maybe perhaps a sequel. Maybe perhaps that'll not happen or not, but I could definitely see Nintendo be more liberal when it comes towards pushing out Zelda games that aren't conventional Zelda titles, like what IG Aonuma was pushing previously before.
I know when touched upon Hyrule Warriors and IG Aonuma, he constantly, like in certain interviews, he constantly looks back on Hyrule Warriors and his time as acting as supervisor for the game, and he constantly says that he, takes certain points from the game and he plans to incorporate certain things that he's picked up from Hyrule Warriors into Zelda Wii U. So I really think that Nintendo is really behind Hyrule Warriors 100%, and I'm glad it's doing well. And I think that Hyrule Warriors 2 may be a possibility for next year. With the whole Zelda 30th anniversary happening next year, I think they might double down, blow up Zelda all over the year, just like they did for the Zelda 25th anniversary. For the 30th anniversary, we could get Hyrule Warriors 2 and Zelda Wii U in the same year. Of course, they're not being developed by the same people, so Nintendo doesn't really have an excuse to say, like, oh yeah, Zelda Wii U had to be delayed again because we're too busy working on Hyrule Warriors 2. Yeah, right. I mean, Tecmo Koei or Koei Tecmo would be the one developing that stuff. And I would definitely love to see a Hyrule Warriors 2. Is it possible? Is it going to happen soon? I don't know. If they do plan to announce something like that soon, I wouldn't want to wait too long.
Yeah, I must say that the diversity within the Zelda franchise is a positive thing, as you mentioned, HMK, about adding additional elements to the franchise. And as long as the spin-off games are not canon in any sort of way, I have nothing against them personally. But for me, the most important thing is that it doesn't hold back any development on the actual Zelda games that are to be launched on Zelda on the Wii U or future platforms. And the question is, when we get the new Nintendo system, is whether it will be a fusion of the handheld and the console, and then maybe we might be seeing new Zelda games coming out, let's say, in a periods of 2 or 3 years in between on a console basis. So that's an interesting future that Zelda has ahead of it. It was all the DLC additions. That is what I'm calling the inclusion of Link in different games. And of course, the plans for the future console, which probably is building on a fusion of the handheld aspect and the console aspect of Nintendo.
Yeah, one thing I hope is that with spin-off games for Zelda, the Zelda franchise doesn't get diluted in a way, because that's something that has happened with multiple franchises. For example, I'm not saying Mario is sort of stale, but he is in a lot of games, and a lot of the time you see a Mario game, at least in my experience, you see a Mario game and it's sort of just another Mario spin-off, whereas Zelda isn't quite like that. There aren't as many that are, properly Zelda spin-off games like Hyrule Warriors is. I mean, we have seen Link in things like Soul Calibur, but I'm not really going to count that as that's more of a cameo that Link's appearing in. But like I said, I don't really want to see the Zelda franchise diluted as such, with lots and lots of spin-offs. Hyrule Warriors is a good game, so I'm pretty fine with that. But if they're done well and there aren't hundreds and hundreds of them, Zelda spin-offs is a thing that I would like to see in the future.
The question is then, what kind of spin-off games would you like to see in the future, apart from Hyrule Warriors? Since, in my opinion, the game itself is it's definitely a very fun action game, but at the same time, I feel that it had a lot of potential to fill, let's say, the interesting Zelda lore in between the games about all the wars. And there's a lot of the Zelda universe that has been left undiscovered, untouched. So it'd be interesting whether the spin-off games will be touching about those type of aspects in the future.
Yeah, well, I don't really know what Zelda game I'd like to see, to be honest, what Zelda spin-off, because Hyrule Warriors completely surprised me. I never thought that we'd see a Dynasty Warriors and Zelda game together. It's something that was completely unexpected by me, and I think most fans of the franchises, that these two games would come together and make would come together and make one game, as Zelda and Dynasty Warriors don't seem like things that would mix, but depending on your opinion of Hyrule Warriors, they have done.
Right, and also one thing to bring a note about, Link is also a playable character in Mario Kart 8, and pretty much I kind of find that as kind of interesting, since typically that's the first time you actually saw a Legend of Zelda character in a Mario Kart game. And pretty much I kind of just saw this as sort of an inception in which you see Zelda be more, I would say, opened up towards Nintendo's eyes, that they're putting Zelda in a broader spectrum in terms of giving him a cameo on Mario Kart and, let's say, Hyrule Warriors coming out. And it's this whole brand of unconventionalism that the Zelda series is trying to push, that Eiji Aonuma and Miyamoto have been stressing as of late. So I'm kind of wondering where's that going to take towards in the future. Right now, I'm pretty sure they're focusing mostly on Zelda Wii U. So I'm curious what's going to be occurring with the Zelda series after that game comes out.
It better be something good and better be something quick. Yeah. But I'm totally on board for, like, Nintendo burning out their franchises and stuff, as long as it works. Zelda in Hyrule Warriors, Zelda in a Warriors game, that works. I don't want to see like freaking Legend of Zelda kart racers or whatever, because like it really bothers me. Like, I was like, hey yo, you're gonna play Mario Kart 8, you're gonna use Link, and I'm like, no, it's just like, it bothers me so fucking much that they use Skyward Sword Link in Mario Kart 8. I would not be bothered as much. I'll be totally okay if they decide to use Wind Waker Link in Mario Kart 8, because I mean it's Mario Kart. Wind Waker is the cartoony big-headed one. You could have used him, but it just bothers me so much that they use the Skyward Sword Link in Mario Kart 8. And see, that's the type of thing I want Zelda to stay away from. I mean, I'm all for trying new things or whatever and doing crossovers, but that kind of crossover I don't deal with. I mean, like Link in Soul Calibur, that worked. Hyrule Warriors, that worked. Link and Mario Kart, in my opinion, that does not work, like, at all. But I would love to see Legend of Zelda even do some sort of crossovers, because I mean, like, I wouldn't consider Hyrule Warriors a crossover per se, because I mean it's a Warriors game in the world of Zelda. You don't have characters from Dynasty Warriors in Hyrule Warriors. That would make it a crossover. You know, you take both of those franchises in all of their respects and put them together in one game. You know, characters meeting characters, yada yada yada. But I would like to see a Legend of Zelda crossover, because I mean, like everyone's saying that Nintendo is being more, you know, more lenient with, you know, crossing over or collaborating their IPs with other people, because we've seen Hyrule Warriors, and we do have Fire Emblem cross Shin Megami Tensei coming out soon, and you know, and we do have the Mario game that's collaborating with that RPG, Mario Dragon RPG type thing that's coming out for the 3DS. I'm drawing a blank, but I would totally love to see Zelda collaborate with the right type of IP to make a good crossover, but I'm not sure what it is.
Maybe Fire Emblem, kinda.
Well, I mean that's already that's both owned by Nintendo. I would like to see, you know, Nintendo be ballsy and, you know, collaborate with an IP that's not directly owned by them. You know what I mean?
What IP would that be then?
Exactly. I don't know. I don't know. You know, thinking about it, I could not tell you. I could not tell you, man. Because I think I feel I'm gonna like throw out some stupid, like, you know, Legend of Zelda cross Devil May Cry. I'm like, no. I'm like, no. But I want to see Nintendo ballsy, but of course I don't want to be that type of gamer that, you know, thinks what's best for the company in certain regards. I mean, I like to say, you know, like, oh yeah, Nintendo should do this, Nintendo should do that, you know, to stay safe or whatever. But you know, I don't want to be that type of guy. It's like, oh, Nintendo should totally collaborate with this guy, because, you know, Nintendo, I feel like, you know, most of the time they know what they're doing when it comes to, like, you know, big projects and stuff, and they are very careful where, you know, when singling out what games they do, whatever. So I'm gonna just leave it to them to see what kind of thing they will present to us if they decide to do a Legend of Zelda crossover or anything.
Well, in that way, Link's actually quite a good option. He's actually more versatile than Mario, if you think about it in that sense. For example, if they wanted Link in a more realistic game, you could use a Link design similar to Twilight Princess, and if you wanted one in a cartoony game, you'd use one similar to Toon Link from Wind Waker. So in that way, Link could work in that sort of sense, as he is quite a versatile character in terms of the differences in his design and all the incarnations we've seen. Whereas, for example, if you put Mario in a realistic game, it'd be really jarring. It wouldn't work.
I remember that Mario game, that Mario basketball game, or like we had like that one NBA game that you had Mario characters in it. I forgot what it's called, but HMK, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I used to have that game too, and it was so hysterical. You're seeing Mario just pretty much just playing basketball with Shaq, and it was just kind of jarring to me.
We need to not forget that Zelda is a little bit under pressure from other huge open world RPGs at the moment. You have had Skyrim, Dragon Age Inquisition, now Witcher 3 coming out, and there will definitely be coming more games as well. And we all remember how Sword fell victim to how Skyrim was this huge, realistic open world that probably people would have expected from Zelda, and it looks like we'll be getting that in Zelda Wii U. But at the same time, I must say that the demo, because I'm calling it a demo right now due to the delay, it was rather empty, and I want to see a live Zelda that is not being compromised by any means because of resources being placed in other, let's see, other places, such as the spin-off games, other remakes. I just want Nintendo EAD Group Number 3 to focus 100% on their work with Zelda Wii U to create the best possible, not only Zelda game, but game overall. So that is basically what I wish for the future of Zelda. That it will be this, once again, be this groundbreaking series. Just like Ocarina of Time blew our minds away. I hope that Zelda Wii U will do the same, even in this RPG world where the benchmark has been set so high by many games.
So with the success of Yooka-Laylee's Kickstarter and also the success of Hyrule Warriors and its sales, we have a lot to look forward to in terms of Yooka-Laylee and the projects from Playtonic Games, hopefully in the future, and also from Zelda spin-offs from Nintendo. Judging from the success of Hyrule Warriors, hopefully this is something that they'll see, you know, there's a market for, and something that they will try and pursue more in the future. So yeah, thank you to HMK, Macintyre Productions, and the Commonwealth Realm for joining me in this discussion. There are links to their channels on the screen if you want to visit their channels, view their videos. If you haven't already, you probably have. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. That'll do.
See ya.